Who is Quinton Reviews? It's a question that even Quinton himself might have a hard time answering. From a young creator with a passion for making dumb videos about Garfield the cat, to a breadtube wannabe who is trapped by his own content. This is the story of a YouTuber beating the odds by finding a niche and building an audience in the hundreds of thousands. But it is also a cautionary tale against the dangers of chasing trends, alienating fellow creators, and forcing your political opinions upon the audience you built. To understand the Quinton Reviews conundrum, we have to understand the way his content has progressed over the years. Imitation is probably the best way to describe Quinton's YouTube career, as each new phase is defined by the more successful YouTubers he is imitating in his pursuit of views and internet fame. Quinton got his start by imitating the critics and reviewers of Channel Awesome. It's apparent not only in Quinton's humor and use of skits, but also in the media he chose to review. His reviews of Doctor Who, Voltron, Rankin Bass Christmas specials, and Fairly OddParents movies fit the mold of the average Channel Awesome creator to a T. As a user of a New Zealand bird-themed agricultural website put it, the only reason Quinton gained views was for reviewing things nobody else bothered to. Even before Quinton started his downward spiral, he was a C-tier reviewer. But he had no competition, and made the kind of content the algorithm loves. Long, relatively inoffensive video essays about harmless baby movies. His reviews weren't completely without any redeeming qualities, though. They were quite boring, but they had a certain charm to them, in the same way that old Nostalgia Critic or Cinema Snob videos did. These were videos made for the enjoyment of making them, without the expectation that they would be seen by anyone outside a small circle of friends.
Caleb was amazingly free. Caleb could do like a lot of stuff because he went to a different school where they didn't even have a theater class. So we would just spend like the majority of our days Skype calling and writing stupid skits and dumb reviews. And the earliest videos are just that. Just us making videos for ourselves, knowing that no one would ever care about anything that we ever did.
And that's still how we make videos.
Yeah.
The skits may be dumb and immature, but Quinton and his co-producer Caleb had good chemistry, in that teenagers calling each other gay way that almost anyone can relate to.
You may not know me, but I know you. Area code of 859, graduating class of 2015 from Woodford County High. Email Darren_doctor@hotmail.com. Social security number 086385955. Confirmed RoboFag.
That's not my social security number.
This was also when Quinton was self-aware.
When I was a teenager, I was a hormonal mess that was so caught up on the fact that I didn't have a girlfriend that I decided to blame all of womankind for this horrific attack on my love life. I thought I had been friend-zoned by too many heartless harpies that would only go after all those jerks who didn't really care about them at all. Except, you know, they probably did. I just presumed that they didn't because they weren't me.
And he was comfortable making the occasionally edgy joke.
The first thing you may notice is that the 3D animation in this special is really special.
By contrast, the Quinton of today is terrified of making jokes, and looks completely uninterested in the subjects of his videos. Beyond this, I don't think there is anything interesting to say about Quinton's content. He rarely says anything incredibly funny, but rarely anything particularly awful either. At least not until he started becoming political. Even after watching most of Quinton's back catalog, I wasn't able to form much of an opinion about his videos. They're background noise that washes over you, and then disappears without making an impact or leaving any impression. There are only a handful of videos anyone remembers, and in most cases for negative reasons. Quinton did do one thing early in his YouTube career that set him apart from other mediocre Channel Awesome imitators. He made commentary videos about popular YouTubers. Several of his attempts at commentary, such as his videos on Leafy, Grade A Under A, and Matt Haas, remain in the top 10 most viewed videos on his channel. They are also considered by many to be some of the better videos he has made to date. However, the success of his early forays into YouTube commentary would change the direction of his channel forever. As Quinton said in his video giving advice to people looking to start YouTube, the Leafy video made him realize the importance of doing videos on trending topics.
Number 4. Hit the trends. This is going to sound depressing and cynical, but it's honestly what you need to hear. When you have nothing
Doing videos that people actually are looking for is the most important thing that you can be doing. And that means dropping everything that you're working on to cover trending topics if that's what you need to do. In mid-2016, I had less than 300 subscribers. All it took for this to change was one video about the drama surrounding Leafy and iDubbbz. In August 2016, I gained 21 subscribers. And in September 2016, I gained nearly 14,000. It's not about making videos about things that you don't care about. It's about focusing your efforts on things that you often wouldn't because you know that it will get you more traction. And sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it can be draining. But those were the stepping stones that led me to where I am today.
If you're someone who has been following Quinton's career, I imagine that clip is already putting a lot of his issues into perspective. Unfortunately, this is only the beginning. One of the most frequently cited turning points in the Quinton Review's story is his trip to VidCon in 2017, because many see this as the point where Quinton stopped viewing himself as a guy who makes YouTube videos for fun and started seeing himself as a real YouTuber. Rather than being a specific point that changed the course of Quinton's life, I think VidCon 2017 was the epicenter of several changes in his life that sent him down the path he is currently on. During this time period, Quinton's political opinions were evolving. In the second of 3 videos from his trip to VidCon 2017, Quinton discussed the ill-fated Women Online panel, the one where Anita Sarkeesian flipped their shit and called Count Dankula's friend a garbage human.
Instead, I want to talk about something that a lot of you have probably heard about, and this, strangely enough, is one of the few cases where it's not just the people running the show who I'm mad at. I've written around 6 or 7 drafts all about the politics surrounding certain events at VidCon, and the first draft was very anti-Anita Sarkeesian, anti-Francesca Ramsey, pro-Sargon, pro-sit-in protests, and each time I rewrote the script, things started to melt a little bit more, and by the end of the version that's about to be uploaded, I'm basically going to be pinned as a social justice warrior by a lot of the people who would otherwise like me. Sorry?
Quinton delivered a measured response addressing the fact that the skeptics and anti-SJWs were at the event because they had no other way to communicate with people like Anita or Cat Black, who frequently attack people on a personal level, then block them so they can't respond, only to then play the victim whenever somebody attacks them on a personal level.
Kat does this really annoying thing in the video where she claims that other people who do videos about her take it to a personal level immediately and that they do it all for attention, while she does it for some other high-level, superior reason. This is a weird thing to say, since most of the people who protested her show did it because of how she was dealing with the whole Lacey Green-Chris Ray-Gun dating thing. The reason that both Chris and Lacey attended her panel is that she was directly attacking them on several occasions, only to then purposefully block Chris to remove his ability to respond. In person is the only place where Chris would ever be able to have a voice against your accusations that he is a Nazi who shouldn't be allowed to be in personal relationships, because it's the only place where you can't block his voice.
But then, at the end of the video, Quinton used one video by Bearing about Francesca Ramsey as an example of anti-SJWs trying to silence their opponents.
Francesca Ramsey has been a rising star in entertainment for years, and she's finally getting her own well-deserved mega platform. Yeah, sorry, she's not a fucking rising star in entertainment, she's nauseating.
He questions not her opinions, not her stances, but rather he just seems to be upset that she can succeed on a professional basis while many people on YouTube don't like her. You see, this is an important distinction. You didn't make this video because you had a political point to make. You made it because you dislike a woman online and you wanted to remove their ability to have a voice.
Quinton deleted this video because he made the point that you shouldn't try to silence someone just because you disagree with them, something he has grown increasingly fond of lately. There is a good reason to believe that VidCon 2017 is at the center of Quinton's political shift that led to multiple controversies and isolation from other YouTubers. Quinton would later refer to himself as red-pilled at this time, and from my research, that meant he was friendly with a few of the left-wing anti-SJW YouTubers and was willing to criticize the left for pointless protests like the women's marches.
I want to directly ask the protesters in this instance a simple question. What is the scenario where you can throw your fist in the air and say, "We did it"? Is the ideal end to this that Trump gives up and resigns as president? Do you want just Hillary Clinton to be sworn in right now? Is that what you're aiming for? Is that what these protests are really about?
What exactly spurred Quinton to change his political views is up for debate. as he has given different answers at different times. At one point, he claimed that what got him out was seeing a bunch of reactionary bros basically bully Milo Stewart, as well as witnessing the way the aforementioned anti-SJWs acted at VidCon 2017. During a Reddit AMA, Quinton was asked what led him to become a leftist cuck. His answer was that there was a moment in 2017 where he saw a photo of all these anti-SJW bros hanging out, and they all looked exactly like him. He came to realize that he bought into this culture, whatever that means, because it told him that he was the victim and no one else is. I have an inkling which image of anti-SJW bros he was talking about. I think it was this one, because this was the image he used in his deleted VidCon 2017 video when talking about the anti-SJW YouTubers.
The point is that Anita's less than perfect show ended up creating an entire pantheon of creators who were against people like her.
And anytime I see this image associated with angry straight white males, I have to chuckle a little. Just compare it to a picture of the leading breadtubers and tell me which one is the more diverse bunch. The reason this is worth mentioning is because whenever people talk about the downfall of a creator, there is a tendency to focus on one particular moment or event. Quinton didn't just flip a switch and become an NPC overnight. It was a process that was heavily intertwined with his growing identity as a professional YouTuber and his habit of chasing trends in search of success and fame. There are several ways to illustrate how Quinton's content has changed over time, but the first example I would like to use is his Fallen Titan series. Early on, Quinton realized that there was a major flaw in the content he produced. His commentary videos took very little time to make, but received far more views than his reviews, which were more time-consuming but also more fulfilling. The conclusion Quinton came to was that he needed to combine these two types of videos into one. Quinton may not agree with me, for reasons that will become clear, but I think Fallen Titans was the fruit of that marriage. At least on the surface, the series appears to be an in-depth look at the individuals and trends that have shaped YouTube and internet culture at large. Due to the success of Episode 3, Fallen Titans has arguably become the flagship series on Quinton's channel. That being said, Episode 3 is a bit of an anomaly in the series, which comes across as Quinton's attempt to jump on the trend of internet history videos. Episode 3 stands out because it is a subject that Quinton is quite knowledgeable about. Channel awesome.
Enter Doug Walker, a small-time commentary creator who started uploading content around mid-2007. His YouTube channel focused on three main shows: an in-universe discussion series about his childhood called The Nostalgia Critic, a series of clipless rant videos written from the perspective of Bum and about current films, and a series where Doug would post a clip from the film, usually with little more than an added caption introducing it.
Quinton was a fan of many of the creators on the site, and credits Channel Awesome with inspiring him to become a content creator himself. Unfortunately, this does not cross over to many of the other episodes of the series, where Quinton lacks a built-in understanding of the topics at hand. The result is that a video presenting itself as a deep dive into a forgotten piece of internet history often turns out to be a collection of surface-level details, or Quinton simply talks about something he used to like and tries to build the episode around it. For instance, he starts episode 2 of the series by talking about the origins of YouTube, and makes the case that much of the content from the early days of the website existed in a state of pre-ironic comedy.
I read a comment on the last Fallen Titans that spoke of a theory that entertainment online has come in unique phases. According to this, we are currently living in a post-ironic atmosphere, where our love for things comes in part from some sense of irony. According to this theory, online content from the early days of YouTube was somehow pre-ironic. I think this is actually a very healthy outlook to take in terms of why content which we now find obnoxiously without self-awareness was ever popular in the first place.
It sets you up to expect a really deep and insightful breakdown of early YouTube stars and the landscape of the website at the time, something akin to Down the Rabbit Hole. What we get is a generalized description of several early YouTubers in a video which dedicates over a quarter of the runtime to talking about one episode of iCarly that featured Fred. Fallen Titans Episode 5 is supposed to be about the YouTube algorithm.
The algorithm chooses what channels you discover, which videos get an excessive amount of views, and which content creators actually have their videos shown to their followers.
But it's mostly about how the algorithm affected animation channels, which would have worked if it had been included in Quinton's Fallen Titans video about animation. At the end of the animation video, Quinton even mentions that the next episode will be a part 2.
Next time on Fallen Titans, we're going to talk about what happened to animation on YouTube, where it went, and why it came back with a vengeance.
I imagine that when he started to write a video about how the algorithm affected animation channels, he realized it wasn't going to be substantial enough to warrant a video of its own. So he had to throw in a little filler. The consequence being that the video feels very underwhelming as an exploration of the impact the algorithm had on the evolution of the platform. A recurring theme in Quinton's videos is that his attempts to create a deep and meaningful narrative around the topics he is discussing end up making his observations look even more shallow and poorly researched. It's apparent throughout his channel, but really noticeable in the Fallen Titans series. This trend has progressed to the point that it seems like his most recent episodes were written with a narrative in mind before he even began his research. His machinima video might be one of his worst videos, because not only did he get a lot of facts wrong,
Red vs. Blue was created by logging into a Halo 2 multiplayer map with multiple controllers and manipulating each character individually. The creator, Bernie Burns... My god, is that his real name?
he either omitted or forgot to include several interesting details. One that was particularly relevant was that Rooster Teeth, which is owned by the same parent company that owned Machinima, ended up archiving some of the web shows that were lost when Machinima ceased operations. Some other Machinima properties, like Inside Gaming, were revived by Rooster Teeth and continue to this day. I guess that just didn't fit the narrative Quinton had in his mind, that Machinima was dead and he didn't care about it.
It really does seem like Machinima, in any of the numerous ways that it existed in the past, is entirely gone for good. Machinima is dead. And I can't bring myself to care. Sorry.
This tendency to preform his ideas has become a constant source of problems for Quinton, not just in his videos, but also in his political opinions, and his interactions with critics, and even friends. While I don't believe there was a specific moment that catalyzed Quinton's transformation into a left-wing culture warrior, The Last Jedi was the apotheosis. Whatever you think of The Last Jedi, Quinton made two pretty serious mistakes in his video about the movie. First, when praising the decision to cast an Asian actor in the film,
I would like to commend the filmmakers for casting an Asian actress in the role. I know that pointing it out like that only makes it feel less normal, but the strange stigma that Hollywood has against casting Asian actors really disgusts me. And the fact that there are actually people on the internet who see an Asian actress on the screen and think to themselves, ugh, these social justice warriors and their propaganda, really disgusts me. Honestly, if you're one of those people who immediately sees a character on the screen that doesn't look like you and you just think, oh, this character could have been white, then honestly you can just fuck off.
Then, when discussing the backlash to Admiral Holdo.
But I've seen a lot of people say that it's, quote, feminist propaganda? What? I guess people are just triggered by Tumblr hair?
Every movie, the women are the bosses, the women are the heroes. They're all lesbians.
I don't even feel like her being a woman is that important to what she does in the movie. I just can't stop thinking that if this character was a guy, there wouldn't have been nearly as much backlash as there is. And that makes me think that that backlash really doesn't matter at all.
Delegitimizing someone's opinion because you don't like them used to be something that Quinton was against. But in this video, he went out of his way to strawman critics of The Last Jedi as racists and sexists. It's really no surprise that this video is still the most disliked video on his channel. In response to the backlash, Quinton released a parody review of Citizen Kane, but had to unlist it because his fans didn't realize that the video was satirical, and apparently many of them actually agree that the movie was bad. More importantly, the video referenced the work of a YouTuber named Mahler, who is known for his lengthy dissections of films such as The Last Jedi. Mahler commented on Quinton's video and offered to debate him on the subject, but Quinton declined. This is where things get really autistic. Rather than debating Mahler, Quinton took part in a collaboration with The Right Opinion called Here Lies Rags, which was a response to a video made by a YouTuber named Rags, whose video was itself a response to a video made by I Hate Everything, responding to criticisms of The Last Jedi. Here Lies Rags is legitimately one of the only times where I have been forced to watch a video in parts. TRO's videos are typically at least coherent, but Here Lies Rags is almost incomprehensible due to the lack of context provided, the headache-inducing music, and the disorienting cuts between TRO, Quinton, Rags, and I Hate Everything. For the purpose of this video, though, Here Lies Rags is notable for a few statements made by Quinton. His opening critique of Rags provided a general idea as to the complexion of Quinton's arguments in the video.
But here lies the issue. The Right Opinion and I would not be discussing Rags' video if the issue at hand was just that he doesn't like The Last Jedi and other people do. The problem is that his thesis statement is essentially that other people are not allowed to disagree with his opinion, because his opinion is on a higher playing field than everyone else's. Or to put it like he likes to, his opinions are objective, and the opinions of people who disagree with him, well, those are just subjective.
I'm not too familiar with Rags, but from what I gathered, he wasn't saying that his opinions were on a higher playing field. Rather, the point he, and therefore Mahler, were making is that there are subjective and objective ways to judge a movie. A way that a movie could be objectively bad is that it breaks its own established rules. Or you could have serious errors in continuity, or production errors like a boom mic being left in the shot. Quinton understands this concept. He reviews things for a living. When he says something like, a review is just a description of an experience, it sounds like he's trying to weasel his way out of saying that a movie he unironically likes is bad. Where this weaselly behavior turns sketchy is that it appears as though Quinton deliberately misrepresented Rags in this video.
I have to bring this up because in his video, Rags says that Luke and Kylo not using force powers against each other in their battle is a contradiction.
Also, I noticed the lack of force powers in that fight.
But that's only true under the standards of the prequels.
So yeah, I have no idea what I'm actually saying.
We need more context, Quinton. We don't even know what Rags' point was.
I'm the one who said it, and I don't even know what I'm saying.
We'd have to,
here.
How bizarre is that? We'd have to go back to Rags' video to figure out what TRO / Quinton is responding to, instead of just telling us,
The chat is saying that I was saying the fight was lame, the fight in the throne room was boring, and I was talking about the throne room fight.
But the throne room fight doesn't have Luke in it.
I know, that's strange.
Is he?
Because I've got.
Were you actually
Rag's
talking about
point is against the Rey, Kylo, and Guards fight, not the Luke versus Ben fight.
Let's just hear that again.
It's a contradiction.
Also, I noticed the lack of force powers in that fight.
If Rags is referring to the throne room fight, this is a straight up, like, malicious fucking move with editing.
Yeah, because I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 people saying that I was talking about the throne room fight.
And if you were talking about the throne room fight, it's relevant because Kylo nearly dies because he forgot he had the Force.
Yeah, but Quinton is framing this as if I'm talking about Luke and Ben fighting.
Yeah. Oh, someone said they found it. 1:10:34. Wow, we're near the end of your video, but we've still got like 50 minutes of this.
Jeez, we went of force powers in that fight. Also, of course, Rey does better than Kylo does because.
Uh-oh. Hang on, Rags, I can play this for you as well. Oh, unless you do it yourself.
In a nutshell.
Well, the throne room encounter with Kylo.
Yeah, it's about the throne room, 100%.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ!
I'll just send you the URL so you can have a look.
No, I know it. I said I remembered, but with the confirmation, yeah, I was talking about the throne room scene.
Rest in peace, Quinton. You've fucked up miserably now. Instead of it being a matter of you being disingenuous and like putting words in our mouth through interpretation, like extremely crappy interpretation, you've actually repurposed a clip.
The chat.
You've actually repurposed a clip to mean something else. So,
wow, that's pretty fucking scummy.
Further credence was lent to this theory when The Right Opinion appeared on the EFAP podcast, and it was discovered that some of Quinton's dialogue from Here Lies Rags did not match the script he had sent to TRO.
Okay, so Rags' point was that, sure, they were made to sell toys, but wouldn't it have been better if they were also to influence the plot?
Mm-hmm.
And Quinton says, so the idea of someone saying that a Star Wars film was, quote, objectively, supposedly morally worse because those...
You can say it louder.
Oh, sorry. I was just reading to myself. Also, the idea of someone saying that the Star Wars film is, quote, objectively and supposedly morally worse because there are parts intended to sell toys.
And that's not, as much as you've got the script there, that's not what he says in the video. No, he says objectively without value, as if Rag said that.
Did he say morally?
I don't remember him saying morally.
I don't know. This is just the script. So he may have like changed the wording in delivery.
Yeah, he probably
So is that his script?
That's what he wrote.
Oh yeah, if that's what he gave you, that's not what he stuck to.
The three clips. The first one is Rags responding to I Hate Everything, who said the throne room is amazing, the whole fight's amazing, and Rags was like, they didn't even use the Force in that fight, and then moves on to more criticisms of the throne room. And then we go to your video, where Quinton says that Rags complains that there's no use of the Force in the fight between Luke and Kylo. And then he plays the clip of Rags saying, they don't even use the Force in this fight. And then that's it. And I think I told you about this. Like it's
yeah, you did tell me about this. Quinton did actually mention this to me because he did. I think he watched part. Well, I know he watched part of the stream. He said it was a legitimate mistake, and therefore I don't know what else I can say about that. Like you can judge that explanation for yourselves.
We may never know why The Last Jedi was the hill upon which Quinton chose to die. For some reason, these movies are now a cultural battleground. So perhaps he thought he needed to support a progressive film with a diverse cast, which would be ironic considering that he accused Mauler and Rags of viewing themselves as warriors.
This might seem blunt or crude, but the ultimate issue to me is that Mauler and Rags believe that they are part of a battlefield fighting their holy and protected beliefs. Socially, they use their flawed thesis to justify the fact that they believe themselves to be warriors. You two are not warriors. None of us are warriors. We are geeks online that talk about films. Stop acting like you are warriors.
I think a simpler answer is that Quinton can't handle criticism. Early on, he faced some hate from fans of grade A under A, but the bubble of obscure content he lived in essentially allowed him to build a very successful YouTube channel without facing any real backlash along the way. When he gave a hot take on a mainstream film, he got hit with some harsh criticism that he wasn't used to. How did Quinton respond to his critics? Well, instead of debating Mauler, he had a dishonest one-sided argument with Rags, and then blocked them on Twitter. This is the mentality that led to his current predicament. As with many YouTubers, Quinton's undoing would be the result of politics, or rather, his inability to discuss political issues in a reasonable manner. Quinton has always talked about politics, but the tone has changed significantly over time. The SJW-ish manner in which he strawmanned criticisms of The Last Jedi as racist and sexist is one example, but it was a series of gaffes made in late 2018 that brought him under an even greater degree of scrutiny. Before we discuss these events, I want to say that I will be periodically cutting to clips of Quinton on the State of the YouTube podcast, which chronologically takes place after the controversies. I just think it will be easier to follow if I go over each incident individually and then give Quinton's response, rather than going over all of the incidents and then talking about the podcast afterward. The video that appears to have started a lot of the drama was a video Quinton made commenting on the subscriber race between PewDiePie and T-Series.
I mean, honestly, if you asked me who I'm rooting for in this, I'm probably somewhere down the middle. I used to watch a lot of PewDiePie, but my mom really likes Bollywood movies, so I could go either way. It's honestly really all superficial and it doesn't matter in the slightest. PewDiePie's not going to have less influence just because he went from #1 to #2, and this Indian company is not going to stop being excessively popular whether or not it hits this random number that doesn't really mean anything. I do honestly think it's kind of cool that the top list of all YouTubers now includes people who aren't exactly enjoyed in this specific culture, as if to say, YouTube is a worldwide platform, and just because it's not watched in America doesn't mean it can't be one of the most popular channels. Ironically, a long time ago, PewDiePie actually predicted that the next person who was #1 wasn't just going to be a white guy. He posed it like an insane conspiracy theory, which I think he was being sarcastic, but still it was kind of weird.
It wasn't the only bad take Quinton had about PewDiePie, but the backlash was serious enough that Quinton deleted the video. It's possible that Quinton was simply being a contrarian, but as we will see later on, there is reason to believe that he genuinely didn't understand why people were supporting PewDiePie. On one hand, he mocked PewDiePie and Mr. Beast for playing up a meme and creating content, while on the other hand, he dismissed the idea of supporting an individual creator in the face of a corporate entity.
No matter what Felix does, no matter what he says, no matter what videos he makes, he will always be less popular than the concept of Bollywood. In the last month or so, PewDiePie and this guy called Mr. Beast have been openly campaigning against T-Series. They've spread a lot of theories about subbotting, and they've been taking out billboards, and honestly, this whole thing is just kind of sad.
You may not like PewDiePie, but the subscribe to PewDiePie meme was a rallying point for people who felt they were being shut out and ignored by YouTube in favor of corporations and celebrities. Whether contrarian or cynical, it was a bad idea for Quinton to cast his lot with T-Series. Quinton ended up fanning the flames of the controversy when he deleted the video and then filed DMCA takedowns on channels that re-uploaded the video, doxing himself in the process. Quinton did explain why he decided to take down his own video, but the justification he gave for DMCAing archival re-uploads was pretty weak in my opinion.
Now, not saying it's comparable to your exact situation, but what do you have to say to your defense of kind of just DMCAing channels for re-uploading your content?
My situation was, sorry, you dropped out. I might have been talking over you. But my situation was just that, like, someone re-uploaded my video, and I took it down because that's what I always do. And I feel like that's been a thing that a lot of YouTubers have done over the years. I mean, Filthy Frank was pretty equally famous for being someone who would take down re-uploads of his taking down content. I didn't really realize it was that controversial that I took down a re-upload of my own video. And I guess I've thought about maybe at a time where I'm not getting a lot of heat of releasing some of those claims because it was just 2 of them. But I feel like I don't want to do it at a point where like everyone's actively going after me because I don't want that to be the reason why I'm doing it. As for the whole T-Series video, I realized here's the reason I took it down. That was growing incredibly fast. It was a smart upload as a business move, and it was going to become my most viewed video, and I don't really care about that whole thing. And I did that video kind of half caring, being like, I'll make some jokes about this, but I don't think it matters. A lot of people got mad about the situation, telling me it was a bad video because of 1 or 2 points they didn't like. And it was growing so fast, it was easily going to break 1 million really quickly. And I was like, I don't like the video. I want to take it down and redo it. I had this plan where I was going to redo it without talking about the drama. I was just going to explore the history of T-Series. It was, I was going to do a video called like Quinton Reviews T-Series Movies, where I was going to like review their movies. I feel like that's a lot less likely to happen now that like people are actively mad at me because of some of the jokes I made in that video.
However, this controversy would pale in comparison to several others that were soon to follow. The most notable would be this rant from his review of The Thinning 2.
It's like, if I got mad about stuff like that, I would just I'd just be like a very unhappy person all the time. It's just, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed, movie. So, here's the thing. I fucking hate Trump. He embarrasses me every day. He makes us all look like backwards idiots, and frankly, the fact that he got elected means that we probably are all backwards idiots. He's ruining people's lives. He's making horrible racist decisions, which are probably going to have long-lasting repercussions long after he's out of office. Overall, I would be a much happier person if we found a way to deport him from every position of power that he has ever had. But on that note, I feel like if this is a movie about Trump, they're doing a bad job.
I don't think it was wrong to talk about Trump in this video, because part of Quinton's analysis was that The Thinning 2 was a movie made in response to Trump. The problem was that a rant about how much he personally hates Trump felt extremely unnecessary, and he didn't say anything more important or nuanced than, I hate Trump. It was so blunt and poorly edited into the video that it was bound to draw negative attention. Quinton also seemed like he couldn't make up his mind about exactly why he included this segment in his review.
What are we missing here? What points are missing?
I guess I'm just saying that, to conclude here, putting politics in everything. I didn't bring this up earlier, but just using it as an example in your thin-knitting review, you just go on a 2-minute rant about Donald Trump for seemingly no reason.
Let me explain to this. Okay, for one, the reason I mentioned Donald Trump in that review is because I was making fun of the movie for being a bad Trump film. And then, I mean, my audience has tended to want me to be honest with them. And I didn't want people thinking that I was a Trump supporter, so I was just like, I'll just say, hey guys, so I don't like Trump. And then I just figured people like it when I explain my positions. And so I went on like literally a 40-second thing where I just explained my position on Trump. And like again, like I wouldn't do that again. I mean, I've listened to people. People have said, "Hey, we don't want you to do that," and I said, "All right." But I mean, I think like that was just a part of the review. I mean, if you go back to like my Fairly Odd Parents review, it's much worse. I make Trump jokes literally like every other minute.
People joke about Quinton having autism, but he seems unable to grasp that his critics weren't annoyed by his Trump rant because it was negative towards Trump. It was unnecessary and felt forced. I don't think the idea that the rant was intended to make fun of Trump holds much water either. It's not a funny or comedic rant. He's just shoehorning a political opinion into one of his videos. The comparison to jokes about Trump from his Grow Up Timmy Turner review fails because in that case, you can actually see the attempt at humor.
It has at least some competency in duplicating something nostalgic, but instead it tries to create something new. And by new, I mean bland, and by bland, I mean terrible, and by terrible, I mean build the wall, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall.
It's not a rant about how much Quinton hates Trump, ham-fistedly inserted into a review for no reason. The same inelegance was present a few days later when Quinton tweeted his disappointment in PewDiePie for having Ben Shapiro on his channel, because Ben Shapiro is a transphobic and occasionally racist egghead. When you have him on your show and humanize his platform, you help him grow. Aside from this tweet being random and bizarre, Quinton also failed to provide any evidence of Ben Shapiro being transphobic or racist.
Why is that? Why? What is your grievance with Ben Shapiro?
Ben Shapiro, he has had a lot of controversial moments. There was, for instance, an instance where he said like a very racist thing about Native Americans. But the big thing he's infamous for is he has this anti-trans rhetoric that he spreads around. And I cannot stand transphobia. It's one, you could say that it's not something I'm tolerant of. I'm very pro-LGBT, and I really am annoyed by this, this rhetoric he throws around. There's this stance he says where it's like, the reason I don't like trans people is I like science.
We're not talking about a different Ben Shapiro either. This is the guy who makes so many bigoted and offensive comments that he had to make his own list to keep track of them. If there was one person on the internet that you could easily dunk on for the sake of lefty Twitter points, it would be Ben Shapiro. But Quinton fucked even that up. He also struggled to explain why it was wrong for PewDiePie to have Ben Shapiro on a show that wasn't political in nature.
I just feel like it's hard to explain. I mean, I strongly feel that Ben Shapiro uses his platform to spread very hateful ideas. I don't see transphobia as a political belief. I see it as a form of hatred. And if PewDiePie is going to introduce his audience to this guy and just show have fun with his audience and this guy, I feel like a discussion of who this guy is warranted. And like I said, this is old news, but I mean, that's just how I feel.
I think this comes down to the problem I discussed earlier. Quinton will form a narrative in his head before he even researches a topic. He made up his mind that Ben Shapiro is a bigot, which he is, but Quinton never bothered to find any evidence to back up his opinion. Quinton continued this conga line of bad decisions 2 weeks later with his remarks about JonTron and the knockoff YouTubers episode of Fallen Titans.
Saying that every angry gamer is trying to be James Rolfe is like saying that every racist gamer is trying to be JonTron.
For those of you who are unfamiliar with the situation Quinton is referencing, back in March of 2017, JonTron engaged in a live stream debate where he made some pretty controversial statements about race and immigration. Quinton has made multiple jokes about JonTron in his videos, but the reaction to the joke in his knockoff YouTubers video was poor enough that Quinton suggested ending the entire series over it. When you muddy the waters this way, it's easy for people to believe that you're including your political beliefs in your videos and calling them jokes to avoid criticism. Had Quinton simply said, "These are just jokes," and left it at that, I don't think the issue would have become anywhere near as contentious as it became. Much like his rant about Trump, Quinton seems to want to have his cake and eat it too when it comes to JonTron. He claims that he was just making fun of JonTron's controversial remarks, but he also believes JonTron is a legitimate white supremacist, because even though JonTron has tried to clarify his opinions and apologize for what he said, Quinton doesn't believe the apology was sincere.
I understand that there are people who want to forgive JonTron. I know he has, quote, apologized, but I feel like his apologies have not been good enough to to convince people who are actually mad at him. He also says a lot of weird, sinister shit, like, I'm gonna let other people fight that fight. Like, that's not a sentence you should say when you've been accused of
Hold on, do you actually believe that JonTron holds white supremacist views?
Of course I do. I mean, he said it. I mean, I'm sure he's backed away from it to some extent, but I mean, he has a track record of this stuff that predates that debate. I mean, there, of course.
So without like misrepresentation or even giving perhaps him any deniable plausibility, maybe perhaps he misspoke, perhaps his ideas weren't formulated or unfocused words, you would say that JonTron holds white supremacist views.
I don't know what you would call it when he's saying that white people need to hold their demographic majority and that he's shit-talking races separate from white people under the context of the fact that he doesn't think they should breed into the white gene pool. I don't know what you would call that other than white supremacy.
Quinton's controversial videos and statements quickly caught the attention of several smaller commentary channels, such as LS Mark, Just a Robot, and Manga Common, who made videos at around the same time and discussing similar grievances they had with Quinton. In particular, they called Quinton out for the hypocrisy of saying that PewDiePie shouldn't humanize Ben Shapiro when he'd argued against dehumanizing people you disagree with in his video on Grade A Under A.
But instead, they attempted to simply delete the argument and undercut his message by searching for a way to splice away at the man's right to have an opinion. But if you're using this kind of argument where you're trying to disarm the other side's right to an opinion instead of actually talking about what they said, well then you're a pussy.
Quinton responded to the videos by suggesting that the commentary channels were all friends and were conspiring to increase the views on each other's videos. He also dehumanized his critics by referring to them as guppies, even though much of Quinton's YouTube success came from videos he made about bigger YouTubers. Quinton quickly deleted these tweets, but the controversies were far from over. It wasn't just small commentary channels that were picking up on Quinton's public blunders. The aforementioned State of the YouTube podcast had taken notice of his behavior, with YouTuber Mumkey Jones lambasting Quinton for his tweets about Ben Shapiro.
So Quinton Reviews was talking mad shit about PewDiePie having Ben Shapiro on his meme reviews show.
He was just being a typical soy boy fucking cuck. Like he's an NPC like through and through.
What was he saying?
He's like, oh,
I mean, obviously man, the same shit that everyone was.
You're humanizing transphobia. If anybody in my subscriber list doesn't like trans people, don't watch my videos.
Oh, and you know what? I bet a lot of them don't give a fuck about his politics that watch his videos.
No. He reviews Fairly Odd Parents movies and shit. Why the fuck would I care about your politics, you stupid fat cuck? Lose some weight, you retard. Shave your disgusting beard.
I'm going to say this.
These seemingly inconsequential remarks would become incredibly significant when two of Mumkey's YouTube channels were suddenly terminated in December of 2018 due to false community guideline strikes. In a fit of smug, jelly-titted schadenfreude, Quinton mocked the termination of Mumkey's YouTube channel. Quote, "That face when the YouTuber who bragged about having more followers than you in a stream and called you a fat cuck for being anti-transphobia gets his channel deleted." Unquote. Quinton quickly deleted this tweet, but not before people could screenshot it, with the screenshots making their way into the hands of Emperor Lemon, one of the hosts of the State of the YouTube podcast and a friend of Mumkey Jones. Emperor Lemon tweeted the screenshot along with a few harsh words for Quinton. For his part, Quinton claimed that he thought Mumkey's situation was only temporary, and that he deleted the tweet when he realized it was not. Personally, I don't think what Quinton said about Mumkey was objectively that bad. Mumkey arguably said worse things about Quinton during that podcast that initiated this drama.
He seems like an ally, and I would not trust him to watch
child.
My sister if she was drunk and passed out.
I wouldn't trust him to babysit a child.
Whoa, you guys are giving him the enter treatment. Sheesh.
No, I'm just saying that. That's just my gut
I'm saying he's
feeling.
not a trustworthy guy. He's a cuck.
However, edgy jokes are expected from someone like Mumkey Jones, while they seem hypocritical coming from Quinton. As with his T-Series video, Quinton also chose a poor time to be a contrarian when it came to Mumkey Jones. Although his standing in the YouTube community is a little different nowadays, at this time Mumkey was being seen as a martyr for the fight against the draconian censorship and deplatforming practices that were taking place on YouTube. Whether or not you believe Quinton's claim that he thought Mumkey's situation was temporary, you can only make these kinds of contrarian remarks so many times before people have had enough, which is what happened in this scenario. When I went back and researched this incident, I was surprised by how fast it developed. Shortly after Emperor Lemon's initial tweet calling Quinton out, they were speaking in DMs, which was assisted by Internet Historian, and then Quinton made an appearance on an episode of State of the YouTube to try to clarify his comments. As an interesting side note, it appears as though Quinton may have been playing with Legos during his rebuttal.
Alright, so if we're ready to get into this, Rusty, you can introduce the scenario, and then I'll sort of get into my opening argument.
All right, welcome everybody to the State of the YouTube podcast, the only podcast on the internet.
Although this conversation has largely faded into the background of many other YouTube controversies, it provides a valuable insight into the way Quinton thinks and the double standard he has for other people.
Before anything else, I wanted to say that a lot of people figured out that I used to be a certain way on YouTube, and now I've sort of evolved to a different person with different perspectives. And I guess I've really been pushed away from everyone the last month and a half because I haven't had anyone really try and reach out to me. Like people who have the ability to reach out to me. I haven't had that. I've had people who agree with me reach out to me, and I've had people who disagree with me shit talk me. So I've been like, I feel like that's pushed me away more than anything else.
It's very interesting that Quinton places the onus on the people who disagree with him to reach out, given the fact that he also dismissed the criticism levied against him by the commentary channels only a short time prior to this. Additionally, how are people supposed to reach out to Quinton when he has cut ties with other creators to protect his public image?
I used to talk to Quinton quite frequently, and he was one of the first big YouTubers to support me by giving me a shout out on his channel back in January of this year. We remained on pretty good terms, but he began trying to distance himself from the commentary community as a whole because he saw it as a toxic genre, and he unfollowed me a few times on Twitter. I asked initially, and he seemed like he wanted to stay on good terms and offered to do a voice cameo in a video of mine a few times. But after Mr. Enter made a video mostly about me, with me in the thumbnail, Quinton took it upon himself to block me on Twitter and leave a long, drawn-out comment saying that he didn't like the direction my channel was going and that he couldn't openly associate with me anymore. Take that as you will. Perhaps the mature thing to do would be to message me like he's someone who knows me, which he was, and just explain, hey, you're acting like a dick. You should stop that. I don't really want to associate with you publicly anymore. Instead of making the PR move to just instantly block me, but that's his prerogative, I guess. From the way I see it, he saw my channel as a sinking ship and decided to just cut all ties immediately so as not to be associated.
I don't want to get into any behind-the-scenes drama between Quinton and other creators that hasn't already been openly discussed, but from conversations I've had with some relatively large YouTubers who used to be friends with Quinton, Turkey Tom's story is not uncommon. The general consensus being that around the time Quinton was going through his ideological shift of 2017/2018, he cut ties with a lot of the creators he had been associating with during his rise to YouTube success. This move was petty and dumb, but Quinton is free to choose who he associates with. In light of the fact that he cut ties with other people to protect his image, he looks like a hypocrite when he plays the victim about other people not reaching out to him. Quinton plays a victim quite a bit over the course of this podcast, but there was one moment of hypocrisy that I haven't seen many people pick up on.
I was frustrated with, because, specifically Monkey. I've talked to Monkey before. I thought we were on good terms, and yet I feel like he goes on podcasts and talks about me like I'm not real, like I'm not a guy.
If you want to nail Quinton on his hypocritical behavior, this is a better example than using clips from his grade A video, because here Quinton is, complaining about Mumkey dehumanizing him when he didn't think PewDiePie should humanize Ben Shapiro. The obvious answer is that Quinton thinks he should be treated like a real person because he is in the right. Quinton doubles down in his hypocrisy when he tries to deflect criticism of his tweet about Mumkey because he deleted it and apologized.
And I guess the reason I felt comfortable making that tweet was A, because I didn't think that Monkey's situation was permanent. I thought he was like half a day away from getting his channel back. And B, because I felt that his language against me was just as dismissive. And it should be said, for people that don't know this, I deleted that tweet about a minute and a half after I posted it. No one called me out on it. No one said, "Hey, you're talking about Monkey." It was like no one even knew what I was talking about. It got 5 likes, a minute and a half, and then I was like, I think this is wrong. And then I took it down on my own volition.
People found that really quick. They screenshotted it, and I got that sent to me about 20 times within the course of 2 minutes.
Well, Quinton,
I didn't hear about it until I didn't hear about it until about 12 hours after it happened, because that was like 2 a.m.
Right.
But I feel really bad about it, and I didn't have to be told to feel bad about it. I just felt bad about it immediately. I felt like it was a very disrespectful thing, and I think I should have been more understanding of the situation, especially as it later transpired that it was a lot more serious than I thought it was.
So we have to forgive him. But he doesn't have to forgive JonTron because Quinton thinks he still secretly holds white supremacist beliefs, and he hasn't done enough to show that he's changed. Here's the thing. Like most YouTube drama, this was all very quickly forgotten about. A few of the aforementioned commentary channels made follow-up videos, but after a little while everyone moved on. Everyone except for Quinton, that is. First, he issued an apology on Reddit, which he then deleted. Then he posted an apology on Twitter, but ended it by saying that he stands by his statements on political issues. So, not a great apology. The next day, Quinton put his persecution complex on full display with a series of now-deleted tweets, complaining vaguely about people wanting to expose him and not treating him like a real person. He also accused this anonymous bully cabal of gaslighting his friends and asking for dirt from people he used to know. Quinton would continue brooding over this topic for weeks, with occasional social media outbursts. On the 31st of December, he posted his side of the story in a meandering twitlonger post where he doesn't take any responsibility for his actions, other than being dismissive of the commentary channels who made videos about him. Of course, he doesn't refer to any of the guppies by name, or address any of their specific complaints. After some rambling about his political beliefs, he ends the post by saying that the hate he has received has given him crippling anxiety that makes him not want to get out of bed in the morning. The next day he was on Twitter complaining about people using quotes from his grade A video instead of debating current Quinton. But as Manga Common pointed out, how is he supposed to debate current Quinton when current Quinton blocked him? So even though Quinton doesn't think SJWs are real, he has become fond of their tactics. Quinton was still brooding over commentary channels in mid-February of 2019, and even got called out by Internet Historian. As I said earlier, Internet Historian facilitated the conversation between Quinton and Emperor Lemon, and he was part of that State of the YouTube podcast. In the past, he has even collaborated with Quinton, but it has been rumored that he was one of the creators that Quinton cut ties with. Historian has since mocked him at the end of his My Immortal video. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Quinton was ready to let it go now?
I get a message from an account called Not Mumkey Jones on Twitter. It's a parody account of me. It has about 268 followers on it. And they say, hey, look at this screenshot. This guy, Quinton Reviews, just sent me a whole bunch of messages thinking I am you. Wow. He says, hey, Mumkey, just wanted to apologize for being mean to you once. And for also being such a F-slur. I'll strive to be less gay in the future. Don't know why he thinks he needs to do that. Sorry if I was too much of a F-slur for you. Okay, he goes on. Really, I had no idea that's how I was until you reached out to me. I never reached out to Quinton. So thanks for that. Also, the rape comment, he continues, yeah, if I had known that I was such a F-slur and a rapist, oof, I never would have disavowed transphobia. Wow, what a hero. Man, you sure do God's work. Your fans have doxed me and have been sending me very interesting death threats. I've been spending the last few months of my life living in fear of a culture you created and nurtured. Living in fear of a culture you created and nurtured, so sorry if I don't find any of this amusing. Signed, fucking F-slur. Oof, he keeps using that F-slur.
Quinton didn't stop at DMing a random person he thought was Mumkey Jones on Twitter either. As Mumkey was reading the DMs on his stream, Quinton found the right account and proceeded to message that one as well.
Okay, you guys want to hear what he sent me as I was reading this out loud on the show? Why? And every single word is its own message here, so you can tell he's really upset. Why in the world would you leak out private information about me being doxxed. He is, of course, saying this in a reference of me tweeting out those messages. You know what? I'm just stressed because I've been under a lot of heat lately. What did you lose your job? Did they delete your 300,000 subscriber YouTube channel, Quinton? That must be some real hardcore stress you've been going through. You clearly haven't had negative intentions through all of this, and you've just been playing off of this. Okay, so am I a mastermind, a puppet master, ordering people to send you death threats, or do I have no negative intentions? Please clear up your mind here. On that note, I will never forgive you for what you said about my family. Alright, I additionally don't understand how you can't think that your own fans threatening to kill me isn't a problem. Look, I only instigated the situation because I thought the account was you. Yeah, no shit. I've otherwise forgotten about the whole thing, and I'm sorry I brought it up. You should be. But what you did was totally in the wrong both then and now. Again, as you just admitted, I didn't do anything now. I have not talked about you publicly in a month until you DM'd a random account trying to explode on me, and you missed. I would be totally willing to reach out and talk to you, but I stand by everything I said there. I don't care. You can stand by it. You were an idiot for calling me a F slur. Again, he keeps saying this F slur. Disgusting. And you should be more aware of the horrible ways your fan base has reacted. Yeah, sorry, buddy. You can go fuck yourself. I'm not responsible for what my fans do. You're assuming that they're my fans because they're shitting on you, but guess what? Everybody shits on you because you're a dumb fuck. You are a dumb fuck who posts stupid shit all the time. You message random accounts trying to pick fights with them, not knowing who you're talking to. Everybody is shitting on you equally. It's not just people who are fans of me. I'm guessing 99% of the shit you get is from people who don't even know who I am. That's how big of a lol cow you are. You can't blame all the hatred that you are receiving on me. You don't get to do that, Endless Jets. You don't get to do that, Digi Bro. People hate you for perfectly valid reasons because you are fucking embarrassing, and it's not me. I'm not a mastermind brainwasher who can make tens of thousands of people do my bidding. You are fucking crazy, and fuck off. Just stop. I don't mention you unless you mention me, so if you just drop it, I won't be tweeting about you ever again. So stop. Just block me, man. Just fucking block me. That's it. I'm done.
At this point, it seemed that Quinton finally grasped, however tenuously, that he was the only one that was still talking about the situation. And in light of recent events in Mumkey's life, this small chapter where their careers briefly intersected has been buried under a mountain of more entertaining drama. The curious thing is, I think the post-Mumkey tweet era of Quinton's career has been even more interesting. We're seeing someone slowly circle the drain. His channel has stagnated to the point that he has only gained about 10,000 subscribers in nearly a year, and his political opinions have alienated him from most of his peers. But why? It's possible that Quinton's current predicament could have been avoided had he listened to the criticism put forth by the YouTube commentators. However, Quinton is unwilling to take advice from smaller creators, not even well-meaning people who were not insulting towards him, and tried to give Quinton genuine advice about how to talk about politics without angering his fans.
One of the first things I recommend to Quinton is making a second Twitter account, as he can keep the main one to focus on his channel like sneak peeks, updates, and general discussion about his content, and his second one could just be for his thoughts. Some tweets that might appear on there would include such beloved ones like, when did Markiplier and Jacksepticeye suddenly become hot? And even a cool rewind hot take flashback, go fuck yourself. Not only will having a secondary Twitter account unclutter his main one, but also having to sign out of his main one to go to his second one might actually deter him from tweeting his political views, as so far we've seen that it's not done much good to him.
Quinton didn't listen to this advice because he was already well on his way to imitating another YouTube trend. This time it would be BreadTube, a collection of lefty YouTubers including Mr. Medicare, Jenny Nichols, Nicotine2, and that guy who accidentally saved CP on his computer while trying to prove that 8chan was a hive of pedophiles. The term breadtube refers to the book The Conquest of Bread, and most breadtubers seem to consider the moniker a bit of a joke. Not Quinton. He actually bought a copy of the book and added breadtuber to his Twitter bio. Although he has since ironically added garftuber to the bio as well, probably because somebody pointed out that no other breadtubers actually call themselves breadtubers. I don't know exactly when Quinton became invested in breadtube, but based on his Twitter, it seems that he was aware of H-Bomber Guy at least in April of 2018, and ContraPoints by September. He's known about Lindsay Ellis for much longer though, due to his fandom of Channel Awesome, and it is from Ellis that I think he has taken most of his inspiration, as his content has been trending in the direction of boring, vaguely political video essays. A good jumping off point to explore the changes to Quinton's channel would be the comparison between his reviews of the first and second Thinning movies. This illustrates the transformation of Quinton from a creator that focused mainly on making entertaining reviews with a comedic slant to a miserable individual who was focused on discussing political undertones and motivations. In his review of the first Thinning movie, he approached the review with an overall humorous tone, and threw in a lot of jokes.
Peyton is a tutor helping one of her students prepare for a test, obviously the test, and after he struggles to figure out one of the equations, she agrees to sell him contacts which will help him cheat by giving him the right answers. I like to call this Cyber Adderall.
In the review of the second Thinning movie, he sounded depressed and unmotivated. The jokes feel like Quinton's attempts at sick burns rather than comedy.
Wade Freeman is a football player at the school who gets out of the repercussions of the test basically because he's good at sports. He walks around like he owns the place, he hogs the attention of the viewer whenever he's on screen, and all around he just comes across like a cartoonish narcissist. In other words, he is an on-screen representation of what Logan Paul is like in the real world.
When he broke down the ridiculousness of the plot in the first film, he made jokes and generally mocked the film in a lighthearted way.
And Logan is all like, "Whatever, Dad, shut up!" And I'm just like, motherfucker, I get the whole teen rebellion thing, but if you do not get above an 80% on this test, they will euthanize you.
But when he did the same thing in the sequel review, it seems like he didn't even want to be there.
You can't even get mad anymore about this stuff, because it's like, if I got mad about stuff like that, I would just I'd just be like a very unhappy person all the time. It's just, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed movie.
This is just a hunch, but I think Quinton left his awkward and unnecessary Donald Trump rant in the video because that was the only way he was able to motivate himself enough to make the review in the first place. Quinton has been saying for some time that he lacks motivation to make content for his channel and wants to make videos about political and social issues. It's a curious shift in opinion, considering that during a commentary video on his review of Rudolph and the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the Island of Misfit Toys, Quinton stated that he hated the idea of turning movie reviews into moral discussions.
Yeah, here's the bullshit, this is another thing that I do that I would never do. And I told you this, I said, I don't want to do this in a review ever again. And you were like, when have you ever did that? I hate this shit where I try and make a movie discussion into like a moral discussion.
I think it worked, and you did do it. You've done it twice. You did it in Fairlies as well.
Yeah, I did, but I think it worked better in Fairly.
That's either one of the. Yeah, I think that's either one of the best parts of that video or one of the worst, and I can't tell.
I wouldn't do it again. I think it's a stupid thing to do, and it is like a big cliche now with movie reviewers.
But Quinton has changed, and current Quinton wants to talk about politics in his videos. The problem is that he's really bad at talking about politics. Look no further than his video on Avengers Endgame, where he starts talking about Reaganomics.
To believe that Thanos' plan makes sense, you have to believe in Reaganomics, and if you believe in Reaganomics, then your understanding of the world is equally as malnourished and underfed as the people whose lives have never been fixed by Reaganomics.
Quinton will still occasionally make random videos like a 3-hour-long fever dream about characters from B-Movie, but it's clear that his political leanings are constraining the content he can put out. When he was reviewing Season 11 of Doctor Who, he had to let everyone know that he didn't have a problem with the Doctor being a woman.
Because, I mean, there are a lot of people like me who just have, like, constructive criticism or just weren't invested and just didn't feel the season. And then, you know, those people are fine. If you dislike the season, you're not a bad person. But for every one of those people, I've seen about 10 people, usually on Facebook,
who are just saying the most ridiculous, heinous shit that I can't get behind. Things like, one of the cast members in this season is a Muslim woman. Muslim women aren't real. They shouldn't be on TV. Or like even bigger idiots saying shit like, the cast of this season is really culturally diverse, and that's forced diversity because those could have all been white actors. This makes my pee-pee soft. And like to all those people, I just want to say, could you do us all a favor and shut the fuck up? Because I'm sitting here, I'm trying to review the latest season of a time travel show, and I have to stop and distance myself from literal racists who presume that because I didn't like this season that I must agree with their weird Klansman rhetoric.
His political opinions are affecting his content in another way. He used to make a lot of jokes, but breadtubers are only capable of making two kinds of jokes. Either they talk about their genitals, or they smugly insult people they don't agree with. Since even Quinton knows that nobody wants to hear about his garf tube, that really only leaves one source of humor for his videos.
Also, I stopped taking the red pill, and apparently that shit is super high in calories.
The important thing to understand is that politics aren't just making Quinton's content worse. They seem to be taking a heavy toll in his mental health. In April of 2019, he stated that the only thing keeping him sane was reading r/breadtube and r/Chapo Trap House. Without them, he would have gone over the edge, and they're the only reason he's still making YouTube videos. It's ironic that Quinton accused Mahler and Rags of thinking they were warriors, when that is exactly what he has become. You know you've crossed a line when you're getting into Twitter slap fights with right-wing webcomic artists and saying Nazis hating you is better than drugs. Political Twitter spurging isn't particularly unusual, especially for left-wing YouTubers. I could show you countless tweets where Quinton talks about Nazis, Antifa, and so forth, but it's irrelevant. The real issue is that Quinton's obsession with politics is creating a vicious cycle that is making his content worse, causing his channel to stagnate, and making him more depressed. Whether he knows it or not, Quinton articulated this problem in a series of self-pitying tweets from July of 2019. Quote, "Honestly, I've just felt really ostracized and alone lately, and since a big part of my coping has come from browsing things like r/breadtube, I really wanted to try and make content that helps other people in the same way, but I think I've done a generally bad job of it. My video on Natalie is so bad, within 12 hours of posting it I felt like absolute garbage for making it, honestly. I was hoping it would be something I would be really proud of, but I know it's not good. I think YouTube's just been really confusing and hard recently, especially in order to pay the bills. I need to have big numbers, like I used to, but I don't know if I want to make the same stuff. I stopped looking at my channel months ago, because every time I'd see how little I've grown or how much my videos underperform, I'd feel unbelievably frustrated and depressed. And I guess I've just been trying really hard to be part of something I care about to counteract that." End quote. It's easy to see how Quinton's situation has gone downhill so quickly. He became increasingly political, which alienated him from his contemporaries by cutting ties with his problematic friends and saying dumb shit about other YouTubers. In response to Quinton's pity party, The Right Opinion pointed out that Quinton was the one who ostracized himself from other YouTubers. When Quinton tried to find another YouTuber friend group, he chose BreadTube, which only made him more political. In his efforts to join the clique, he has been desperately sucking off big BreadTubers like ContraPoints and making videos praising them as saviors of the internet.
And for us to have any chance of fixing this, to have any possibility of making the internet anything more than a burning dumpster fire, there's something you have to do. You have to subscribe to ContraPoints. And you can't just stop there. You have to bring Contra to your friends, your family, your enemies, everyone. Show it to your teachers, your crush, your weird uncle who makes you uncomfortable at family get-togethers. Print it on a cake. Put posters around your town. Scribble it on the side of an egg before slamming it on the head of your local fascist. Because ContraPoints has the power to save people. And if we can bring that power to the masses, then we all win.
He did briefly unlist his video on ContraPoints, but when Natalie got in trouble in September for some comments about non-binary trans people, Quinton was concerned people might think he unlisted it as a result of her comments, so he made the video public again. but as of November 2019, the video has been unlisted a second time. Frankly, I understand why Quinton has wrestled with keeping this video public. This comment saying Quinton would buy Contra's bathwater sums up the tone pretty well. He regurgitated the meme that Natalie is de-radicalizing the alt-right, and also mentions the conspiracy theory that YouTube promotes radical right-wing content because they produce regular content that is designed to gain traction with the YouTube algorithm. Of course, he doesn't mention successful left-wing content creators that use the exact same format. Ultimately, though, the video is really nothing more than 17 minutes of Quinton fanboying over Natalie. We all have creators that we admire, but Quinton's attempts to get mommy to notice him are really sad, especially when you realize that he has been virtually ignored by all of the big breadtubers, and only managed to make friends with a few other Z-list breadtube orbiters. This didn't discourage Quinton much, as he forged ahead with more political videos. His video on political messages in children's cartoons has probably been his most overtly political video to date. The video does initially feel pretty clickbaity, because Quinton uses a screenshot from Rocko's Modern Life Static Cling as a thumbnail, even though he only talks about the special for 3 minutes of a 23-minute long video. Quinton spends most of the video proving that he is, in fact, capable of understanding moral messages intended for children.
The plot of this episode is that Timmy faces negative repercussions for some element of his person that is beyond his control, and so he creates a world where everyone is exactly the same. But in his new world, hierarchies prevail, and in order to justify said hierarchies, key players essentially invent racism to keep their power justified. You may be a gray blob, but we are grayer and blobbier, and thus, we are superior to you.
Of course, there was also a weird segment where Quinton stopped talking about political messages in cartoons to rant about a clip of Ben Shapiro saying that Sesame Street is liberal propaganda.
Throughout this clip, these Fox News commentators keep claiming that this is somehow evil and bad for children, but they won't give any goddamn examples of why. Benny gets mad because the Sesame Street website tells parents to not use gender biases when buying toys. And then this weird guy goes on some rant about how a gay guy was elected prom queen. How can you actively dedicate your platform to bitching about the right's lack of freedom of speech while also getting mad about the left using their freedom of speech? Take a shower, Ben. Your hair looks like you dipped it in olive oil.
Quinton, if you really want to own Ben, just ask him whether he likes Pepperidge Farm or Nabisco. In his video on the Paul is Dead conspiracy, Quinton spends several minutes talking about a humble water filter salesman, and it makes you wonder whether Quinton couldn't help himself but to shove a little unnecessary conservative bashing into a video about a Beatles conspiracy theory, or if he's learning the breadtube trick of making 15 minutes of fluff before hitting you with the political message. His video on Area 51 is a much better video about conspiracy theories, because he actually talks about real conspiracies, and even why the government would create their own conspiracy theories to sow disinformation. He also recently made another one of his knockoff Lindsay Ellis videos about It's Always Sunny, but the video was only really notable for a segment where Quinton vocalizes the frustration that comes from making content he doesn't enjoy because he has to pay his bills.
So over the past 6 months, I've been actively working to plug my Patreon harder, and that's for one simple reason, that I have decided to stop making every single video a big, massive hit. I've decided that I'm no longer going to make content for other people, I'm just going to make content for myself. This will often mean that YouTube will plug my stuff less often, or they'll send it to the wrong sorts of people, and that's just really a repercussion of me trying to be me on a platform like this. And so I've been trying to get people to support me on Patreon, because that's the one way to gain income as a creator, which doesn't have any of that other stress, where you don't have to worry about view counts or ad rates. You can just gather support from, a grassroots campaign.
Unlike the tweets he made earlier in the year complaining about the same situation, Quinton has now made up his mind to create content he enjoys, with the financial security coming from his supporters on Patreon.
Patreon, my Patreon blew up this month. It got 3 times as big, and it's officially gotten to the point where every Patreon check I get, it's like my rent and then $50 for groceries. I've never had that before. I've never just been guaranteed that my rent is paid every month,
What Quinton chooses to do with his channel remains to be seen, but this might be a huge turning point. A small glimpse into the future could be his review of the Channel Awesome movie, To Boldly Flee.
This video hurt to make.
I know the feeling, Quinton. Quinton's review of To Boldly Flee is peculiar, not just because it is nearly 2 hours long, but also because the video is split into two distinct parts. The first part of the video, which is about 45 minutes long, is what I would call the review proper. In this section of the video, he goes over the many flaws of To Boldly Flee and occasionally touches on its notorious production. The way in which this portion of the video is the most interesting to me is when Quinton reflects on the impact Channel Awesome had on him as a creator.
After all that drama came out and I rushed to make that video, there was this brief private time that I had sort of offline where I was really broken by the whole affair. I became physically unwell because of just how upset it all made me. And it got to the point that like my friends would like come to the house and would drag me out and be like, okay, we're taking you to lunch, you shouldn't be alone right now. And I think a big part of it was that the Channel Awesome situation made me have like a full-on identity crisis where I realized if I hadn't grown up watching Doug Walker's content, I would not have gone down the path that I had. I would never have made those early videos talking about Rankin Bass films. I wouldn't have done any of that. I wouldn't have a YouTube channel. I wouldn't have a career. I wouldn't be on this path. And I didn't know how to keep moving forward when I just felt those origins had been so sullied, you know?
Quinton has said in the past that Channel Awesome and The Nostalgia Critic were an inspiration to him as a creator. But it is eerie to hear somebody say that they had an identity crisis because an internet movie reviewer turned out to be kind of a bad guy. Quinton is so emotionally involved in Channel Awesome that he became physically unwell when he learned the people behind a bunch of cheesy movie reviews were shitty people.
Channel Awesome, their whole strategy was just to ignore the situation and wait for people like me to become so emotionally exhausted that we never wanted to talk about it again. They felt if they just never addressed any of the issues, their careers would be fine. And at the end of the day, according to Brad Jones, one of the only people who has stuck by them, at the end of the day, their careers were all that really mattered to them in this situation.
This thing, and one thing that we kept saying on our site and at other sites as well, is we were saying like, I mean, look, like Logan Paul filmed a dead body and like he still has a career.
Say what you will about Doug Walker, but he was smart enough to shut up and wait for the controversy to blow over. Quinton is incapable of that, and he knows it. Perhaps that is why he takes so many shots at Brad Jones in his review of To Boldly Flee.
I've been informed that Brad specifically hated always being called Bradican in the script, and that when people started calling him that in the fandom, he got really upset, going as far as to ask that references to this be removed from the IMDb page. So, Bradican is now what I'm going to call him for the rest of time.
Apparently there is some other drama that went down between Brad Jones and Obscurus Lupa, but Quinton only references this one interview as the source of his disdain for Jones. Quinton, if you don't like Brad for sticking by Doug Walker, you're probably not going to like your pal Harry defending pedophiles or gaslighting sexual harassment victims to defend his something awful buddies. Quinton's emotional attachment to Channel Awesome takes on a greater significance later in the video, when he outright states his desire not to be like Doug Walker or create content similar to his.
My biggest aspiration as a creator, perhaps unconsciously, has become to never make any content that even has a slight association with the work of Doug Walker. I don't want my reviews to be like his. I don't want my actions to reflect his. But most importantly, I don't want my filmmaking to even be slightly similar to anything he's ever made.
There are a few ways to interpret this. It could be Quinton yet again retconning the reason his personality and content has changed, from saying it was because he saw a picture of anti-SJWs who all looked like him, to saying he saw reactionary bros bully Milo Stewart. Now it's because Doug Walker was so bad that it sent Quinton into a dark place and made him want to change his content. Realistically, it was probably a mixture. He was already changing in the wake of VidCon 2017, but the Channel Awesome controversy probably did have a big impact on his identity as a creator. Quinton doesn't really have a personality of his own, and in the middle of his identity crisis, he might have latched onto BreadTube as the antithesis of Doug Walker. The fact of the matter is, BreadTube certainly has a lot in common with Channel Awesome. They've progressed in almost the exact same way, with their videos becoming longer and more theatrical, with increased emphasis being placed upon skits. PhilosophyTube is literally including multiple full-length musical numbers in half-hour videos. Does that remind you of anyone? This is where things come full circle. The second part of Quinton's review of To Boldly Flee is essentially Quinton's own version of a Channel Awesome style lore movie. It's pretty terrible. Intentionally so. It's supposed to be mocking terrible movies like To Boldly Flee, but it's not clever. At the end of the day, there is little difference between a shitty movie and an ironically shitty movie, especially if the ironically shitty movie doesn't have anything particularly clever or incisive to say. I saw the suggestion on Quinton's Kiwi Farms thread that this was a thinly veiled way to take jabs at his detractors, because Quinton makes the main villain of the movie Donald Trump, and he wears a trans rights are human rights t-shirt, and there are several other moments here and there that feel aimed at people who have complained about him being too political.
Here I am! You're that weird guy that got banned from Magic the Gathering!
I'm not entirely convinced, but Quinton did end up pettily responding to comments in a thread about his video on the Channel Awesome subreddit, so at the very least he's still so hung up on criticisms that were made nearly a year ago that he had to visit the Channel Awesome subreddit and reply to comments that didn't even mention his username. As I was writing the script for this video, I assumed that Quinton's To Boldly Flee video would be the last video I would talk about. But then Quinton released episode 12 of his Fallen Titans series, which is supposed to be about creepypastas. Two things stick out about this video immediately. It's the longest episode of Fallen Titans by 8 minutes, and it was released a week after his 2-hour-long review of To Boldly Flee. To put it bluntly, a week is not enough time to research, write, and edit a 36-minute-long video that is supposed to deep dive into an internet subculture. Quinton knows this, which is why 2 minutes into the video, he says that he wants to drop the contrived format of the series and just talk about old internet stuff.
Basically, like most episodes of Fallen Titans, well, the pretense of the series and the setup for the episode implies that we're going to be taking a very literal look at the historical downfall of something that was once massively important to everyone and now doesn't exist in the slightest. In actuality, what this video is actually going to prove to be is some geek sitting in front of a shelf of toys and talking about something he has some vague nostalgic recollection of and making fun of it as sort of a way to say, hey, don't we change? Doesn't media age badly as we grow up? I don't know, it's just gotten to the point in the show where I can't keep up with this idea that Titans exist and that your worth can be valued through your influence. I just want to talk about old internet stuff if that's cool with everybody.
Then lumbers through a 3-minute ad read. The rest of this video is genuinely awful. Quinton doesn't even start talking about the first creepypasta until 7 minutes into the video. Then he literally just reads the Jeff the Killer creepypastas off his phone for 8 minutes. And the phone is clearly visible for long stretches of time. Later in the video, he repeats this process by reading the Sonic.exe creepypasta for 5 minutes, without adding anything remotely funny or entertaining. It's a low-effort post even by Quinton's standard, but the cherry on the shit sundae comes when Quinton says that he hit the wall while writing the script and decided to give up.
You know, while I was working on this script, I sort of expected there to be this crescendo at some point where I would transition into the modern age, as I usually do with this series, and I would talk about a couple more interesting stories. But right about here, I hit this weird wall where I was like, no, I'm done. No, this is it. We're done. And I was worried that that meant the video was bad, but everyone seems to agree, like, yeah, we're done, that's it. That's creepypasta, you did it.
Quinton could have easily discussed the way the creepypasta genre has given way to horror narration channels on YouTube, many of which have hundreds of thousands or even millions of subscribers. There is the emerging genre of Reddit text-to-speech channels that focus on dark subject matter. Or we could have explored channels like Nexpo, Rainbot, or Atrocity Guide, whose videos draw from the subjects of internet mysteries, ARGs, and horror fiction. But no. Maybe Quinton needed to pay a few bills and decided to put out a quick, low-effort sponsored video. I can't fault him for that. However, if he is actually tired of trying to make videos fit the format he created for Fallen Titans, then why make this half-assed, lazy video part of this series? Just say you wanted to read and ramble about a few shitty creepypastas for a laugh, and don't try to deceive your audience by calling it something it isn't. Remember, this is supposedly the new direction Quinton is going to take his channel in, now that he isn't focusing on making videos for the purpose of AdSense revenue. Instead, he will pump out longer, much lower quality content that he interrupts with sponsorships like it's a podcast.
Incidentally, this is a great time for me to swap glasses. I feel sort of bad I haven't gotten to like really show all these off, because they are really nice.
I think this video may signal the end of Quinton's attempts to be a bread tuber. Say what you will about them. Their videos may be bloated, meandering, and narcissistic, but at least most of the bread tubers try to make their videos nice to look at. They do multiple takes, instead of listlessly reading off their phones, or editing everything together with jump cuts. It's not as if Quinton doesn't have some editing skills. He's just actively choosing not to use them in favor of throwing together objectively poorly made videos, presumably to meet some sponsorship deadlines. The story of Quinton Reviews is the story of a creator who managed to climb the ladder and found the success that so many others try and fail to find. Unfortunately, it came at the cost of producing a very niche form of content. As much as Quinton wants to be the opposite of Doug Walker, he is like him in the sense that he attracted an audience based upon a style of content that is now trapping him creatively. Now, Quinton hasn't been dumb enough to completely stop making the videos that his fans want to see, but his efforts to branch out into other forms of content have largely either ended in disaster or failed to garner the same level of viewership as his normal videos. I understand that feeling. I've made a few videos that have diverged from my usual offerings, and it's frustrating to see them flop or underperform. When you attract an audience, you start to think of them as fans of you, and to have them reject one of your creations feels like a rejection of you as a person. In reality, they're fans of the content you produce, and it's understandable if they aren't interested in something that deviates considerably from what you typically create. Even Red Letter Media faced this problem years ago when they tried to break away from the Plinkett reviews and produce other shows like Half in the Bag. The Red Letter Media crew weren't dissuaded because they're hard-working guys who were able to persevere with the direction they wanted to take their company. And they were able to succeed in one of the most competitive genres of YouTube videos because they're knowledgeable and have a passion for the media they review. The reason Quinton's efforts to branch out into new forms of content have failed is because he fucking sucks at them. He doesn't have the knowledge of film that real movie reviewers like Ralph the Movie Maker or Red Letter Media possess. So when he talks about movies or TV shows, he can't give you a deep insight into what is right or wrong. I've watched so many of Quinton's reviews. Time after time, his assessments amount to little more than describing what happened in the movie and saying, "It was bad." That's okay in his niche of Garfield and kids movies, but when he steps up to talking about mainstream films, he struggles and resorts to talking about social and political messages to make his interpretation seem meaningful, in lieu of a genuine understanding of film. His ability to discuss political issues is just as bad, because Quinton is uninformed and narcissistic. He believes himself to be fighting for something, and he's incapable of having a rational political discussion. That wouldn't necessarily preclude him from talking about politics on YouTube, as most of the biggest bread tubers are uninformed, emotionally unstable narcissists who bullshit their way through 40-minute-long videos. But unlike Quinton, they're willing to put a little effort into the production value of their videos. They don't stare into a camera, do one take, and edit everything together with jump cuts. Bread tubers throw on the bisexual lighting and shuck and jive for the audience that is only there because they have a parasocial relationship with the presenter. When you just sit in front of your toy shelf and lifelessly read your scripts, you're indistinguishable from any other bottom-of-the-barrel YouTuber who makes video essays about children's media. I know this is falling on deaf ears, though. I'm a minuscule channel compared to Quinton, and he hasn't listened to the advice of much bigger and more influential people than me. I went into this video thinking it might be a funny trip down the rabbit hole of a lolcow in the making, but it ended up being a lot more bleak than I expected. I don't think Quinton is a bad guy. At least he's not an egomaniacal sociopath or racist pedophile, like some of the other people I've covered. He isn't at the point where he is antagonizing his own fan base, but his reputation might have been irreparably damaged in the eyes of any potential new fans. That's probably why his channel has barely grown in the last year. Even though he's made a lot of bad decisions, I'd like to see Quinton's channel get better. He's clearly unhappy with the content he is making, and his videos are getting objectively worse as time goes by, but he's too stubborn and or conceited to make any of the changes people have suggested. At the end of my videos, I try to find a way to sum everything up and reflect on the subject I've been covering. In the case of this video, I drew a blank. Now, I'm never satisfied with my videos, but at some point you have to finish the project, or it will never be done. With Quinton, though, I kept feeling like the video was missing something big. I was worried that I hadn't done enough research, so I pushed myself to watch more of his videos, even though it didn't help. Eventually, I realized what was missing. Normally, I put a lot of venom into these videos. It's sort of my signature, but I couldn't find that venom for Quinton. The situation is more sad to me than anything. Quinton has a lot of issues, but he otherwise seems like a normal person to me, and it's honestly depressing to watch the passion drain out of him as the years go by. As always, I want to thank you for watching the video, as well as liking, commenting, and subscribing. This video is the longest video I've made so far, and it was certainly a challenge to make everything work in one video. It was also a bit of a test of how I may do things in the future. I'm not sure if Quinton was the best subject, though. There certainly is a lot of interesting material, but I ran into quite a few difficulties. It's hard to review a reviewer, so to say, especially a reviewer as benign as Quinton. You end up watching a lot of boring videos and don't come away with much to say. I'll probably need some time to reflect on this video and see what direction I take things in from here on out. With that being said, I think it was an alright video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you're still watching this long-ass video and you want to support my channel, please check out my Twitter and Patreon, which will be linked in the description. And also, I'd like to give a big thanks to my supporters on Patreon, who help make these videos possible. Thank you, Dan Thomas, Mike Roballs, Colin Donahue, Bone CK, CP, The Son of Man, Neem, Origami Fleshlight, Kevin Howard, Medication Doesn't Work, and Jackie.